Good. Okay. So, welcome everyone. Uh,
Herkes hoş geldi.
I thought I would start tonight with something a little different, just for about half an hour, thinking about the Sangha, that is to say, the group that we form, a loose, informal group, but a group nonetheless, and that we need to support the lifeblood of the Sangha. And this lifeblood is our participation. Whether we are very new to the teachings or deeply immersed in it for many, many years, uh, if we don't give ourselves to the practice won't feed us. Oh, in a monastery in Tibet, there were many different tasks that people with different interests and capacities could engage in. There were people who were mainly scholars, people who specialized in rituals, and the very important task also of maintaining the monastery, polishing the floors, cleaning the butter lamps, and so on. So, on a full moon day like today, we can think, oh, well, how might this apply in our world? Some people have a lot of free time. Some people are very busy with family and needing to earn money. So, how can we each find a way of identifying with our approach to practice so that we feel included and have a sense of belonging? One of the traditions which was very strong in Tibet, but has not developed so well in the West, is the notion of sponsoring. That is to say, people knew that the monks were not growing any food, so they needed to have gifts of food. It's so depending on our life and our resources, we can each think about, okay, what can I offer to help this Sangha group thrive and flourish? So, for example, some people make tsatsa, pressing clay into molds to make small figures of Padmasambhava and Tara, which can be placed in nature to give a blessing to the five elements. So, for people who have time but not money, they could offer to make 1,000 satsa. And other people can sponsor the cost of the clay, buying molds, and so on. The essence of our Dharma is that we are all in it together. In that the usual starting point for us of I, me, myself, what do I want, how do I want to do it, this is actually an obstacle that hides our intrinsic belonging. And on the web, through the Simply Being website, you can access practice groups, study groups, which allow you to participate with others. Now that my health is not so good, I I don't think I will be able to make long journeys like flying to Brazil. Oh, this summer, some people will be coming from Brazil to Portugal, which will give a chance to meet these people perhaps only once. Well, there are people who would like to come from Brazil but don't have the resources for the expensive flight and then the accommodation for the retreat. So, if you like, you could offer something for that. There are details on the website. I think it's very important that we see that whatever our resources, they can be turned towards Dharma. Some people are involved in transcribing some of the talks. Uh, There are people translating texts, and this helps to deepen their own understanding of Dharma. So my own sense is that we need to all become more active in our participation. So I want in the retreats that we do to have more active engagement between the participants. We may think that we're living in Germany or Russia or Brazil, but actually we are all living in the Dharma Dhatu. The Dharma Dhatu is the space of all phenomena. It's the space within which our experience arises and passes moment by moment. The ground of the Dharma Dhatu is space, is ungraspable openness. The potential of this unborn openness manifests as the radiance or the potential which is shimmering in our minds moment by moment. The more we have a sense of that, we see that our embodiment, how we speak, how we relate to other people, how we eat, how we walk, all of these are the revelation of our potential moving in the potential of the Dharma Dhatu. So the ground of my being is not my individualized ego sense that I was born in this place and I had this kind of education. This becomes a big obscuration because everything becomes self-referential. What do I feel about this? Do I like it? Do I not like it? So then I become the measure of all things. And I insert myself into every situation. But I, me, myself, these are concepts. In our practice, when we look at these formations which arise in our mind, we see that they have no self-substance. That is to say, integration is inherent. It's not the result of a process. It's our starting point that I am within the space which is the Buddha field of all the Buddhas. This is why participation, being part of the common good, the common welfare, is so vital for our practice. We have this small book, Me First, which has been illustrated and is now available in most of our languages. And it points to the danger of self-obsession. And we see in our time the way politicians and very wealthy people behave, that it is as if they are the masters of the world. This is not a new idea. When we think, oh, the pyramids in Egypt were built by the pharaohs. They built it by saying, slaves build. Just as Mr. Trump would like to tell everyone in the world what to do. But the ordinary things of our life, our food, our clothes, our shoes, these are made by specific people in factories and farms working. These are our Sangha. In Tantra, we project a lot of value into the meditation deities. We say, you are perfect. You have no problems. But I have some problems. So please help me. So we pray to the deity, we focus our attention on the deity, and then through the intensity of this connection, we open a pathway whereby the blessing of the deity flows into us. So this tantric approach is always to dissolve the delusion of isolation. Tantra is like the thread that runs through the pearls on a necklace. So the thread that runs through our life with all the people we meet, the trees, the birds, the airplanes, is to see that these are all manifestations of the radiance of the empty, unborn ground. So in the Mahayana tradition, we have the Bodhisattva vow as an intention, which is seen like planning to go on a journey. And then we have the activated Bodhisattva intention, which is about actually being on the journey. And this is when we actually engage in the practice, whether it's visualizations or Dzogchen or breathing, whatever kind of practice we do, this is for the benefit of all sentient beings. Now, the people and the animals we meet all have their own particular pathways of manifestation. So they take on these particular bodily shapes and power of speech or no speech and so on. But in Tibetan, they're called semchen. That is to say, those who have mind. It is because ants have a mind, frogs have a mind, dogs have a mind, and I have a mind that we can all gain more or less insight into how we are. So when we see a frog or a dog, these are forms of Buddha nature. And we are already connected with them because we share the same common ground. No matter how we look, no matter what qualities we seem to manifest or not manifest, we share the same ground, which is unborn emptiness. So our approach is to observe our lived connectivity with our environment. We are participants in the environment. We are aspects of the environment. And therefore, when we consider our own Sangha, it can be a kind of field in which we can explore connecting and what are our obstacles to connection. Generally speaking, restaurants aren't allowed to poison their guests. So if you go into a restaurant, you can be confident they're not serving poison, but they may serve food I don't particularly like. But it is food. Now, if I don't like the food, that could be because I'm not hungry enough. When we're really hungry, a piece of dry bread is very interesting. So if we rest inside the maintenance of our notion of who we are and our likes and dislikes, our orientation becomes quite narrow, quite limited. So every form of dharma is dharma. All sentient beings have Buddha nature. The limitation in my accessing these resources is my own sense of what I like and what I don't like. So that's a central point, that for the Sangha to thrive, we have to find a common purpose. And the common purpose is to work for the benefit of all sentient beings. So whatever you can do to join in, to participate, to take a place within the Sangha, I would recommend that. Okay, so now we move on to the questions. James, you have said before that we should observe our minds to see how we cheat ourselves. Does this mean that we should try to observe the moment at which we begin to reify our experience? And does this bring us along the path of the 8 consciousnesses? If so, could you explain a little how to do this in meditation? Well, the word mind is a little troublesome. Certainly in English, mind can refer to the container, as it were, the function of the mind, a space of lucidity, and it also refers to the content of the mind. We do things like at the moment I'm talking, my arms are moving about. I can observe that in terms of what am I doing, so that my reference point starts with me in relation to what happens. So this gives the reified, the solidified notion of a self a special place among the contents of the mind. We can see that our thoughts come and go very quickly. Same sensations in the body. Mental events are moving events. They are moving through the space of awareness. Even when we don't see this, the process of the unfolding of our experience is always dynamic. So the key point is to become aware of impermanence. On an outer level, you can look at how you feel before you eat, and then while eating, and then after eating. Before going for a walk, while you're out walking, and after the walk. And in order to do this, we have to be clear that the narrative that we generate about what we are doing, the story of our life, is a cover which obscures the immediacy of the phenomena of our life. Whatever story we tell about ourselves, about our childhood, our work, where we like to go on holiday, and so on, these stories are like a journey in a ghost land. Concepts are they're like ghosts. They're kind of hover between life and death. When we believe in our concepts, I am James, I am from Scotland, then the belief in the truth of these conceptual formations is like blowing energy into the ghost formation so that they dance and move about. Oh, I was born in Scotland. I don't live in Scotland. My Scottishness is a kind of ghost. There is no actual life in it because I'm engaging in lots of things which are occurring around me. So if I say I am Scottish, the Scottishness of my Scotland is a lie. It's a fabrication. The Scotland I grew up in does not exist. It is gone. So if I talk about my past, I'm bringing these ghosts or these formations which are almost vanishing into silence, and I call them back by talking about them. The energy of the concept is the energy of the subject. But if our life energy floats from the subject into the concept, then we become prisoners of that definition. So if I say, I grew up in a Scotland which no longer exists, I trained in psychotherapy in institutes which are very different from when I trained, then the ground of my identity, what I seem to be grounded in. I am this kind of a therapist. We see it's a hollow ground. There's no substance in it. So this is the general practice we need to do all the time. Observe the fabrication of the delusions within which we dwell. We cheat ourselves by believing that the story about something is an equivalent of the actual immediacy of what occurs. So the phenomena of me saying, I am Scottish, I am Scottish. So there's that takes 3 seconds to say. Oh, so you're Scottish, James. What does that mean? It is as if something has been established, something that could be inquired into, but there is nothing to find. There is no secret Scottishness hidden inside me. The Scottishness is evoked if somebody asks me about it. It has no enduring truth or reality. So that's something we can all investigate for ourselves. Our sense of our history, of who we are, of where we grew up, of how our family was, and so on. And just gently evoke these memories and stay with them and see how they move and vanish. Because if you loosen the glue of your belief that concepts tell you the truth about yourself, then the meditation becomes much easier. So that's what I would recommend. Don't try to examine it in the meditation unless you're also looking at it in life. So the next question is, when it is excuse me, when it is said after dying the consciousness sees and hears, for example, when relatives enjoy the fact that you are dead, how is this possible? Well, when people die, according to the text, in the first period after death, you develop an illusory body which has the shape of your body in this present life. And gradually this formation fades, and what starts to emerge is the form that you will have in your next life. So it is as if we are seeing and hearing, but actually, by the time the consciousness has entered into the bardo, you're not paying attention to what's around you. Then there's another this linked question. It is said that our perceiving is as seeing a copy of the objects. What then about this object, which are surely empty? So then he says, or she says, for example, the chair I am sitting on, does it exist? Well, we have to remember that emptiness means empty of inherent existence. Things have situational or dependent manifestation on the basis of shapes in the world identified through concepts and believed in. You have the sense of sitting in a chair. Clearly, a chair doesn't exist in and of itself. It's been made, somebody's bought it, now you're sitting in it. How you experience sitting in the chair will be unique and specific to you in the moment. You have the sensation in your body which nobody else has access to. Whether the chair is comfortable for you or not depends on your weight, your size, the shape of the chair. If the chair is made of has quite hard surfaces to it, that may be very welcome when you have some difficult work to attend to and you need to focus your mind. The sturdiness of the wood helps you focus. And when you want to relax, you might prefer to have a big padded armchair that you can snuggle into. When you observe your experience of the items in your world, you start to see that each of them is a potential, and the potential is revealed through your participation. We all have moods. Our health shifts. Sometimes we have more energy, sometimes we have less. These patternings of how we can participate interact with the patterning of the potential of the chair. So one might want to say, oh, the chair exists, but what it is, I have no idea. Because its existence as a potential changes with my participation. Or to express it another way, I'm not concerned about the chair, I'm concerned about the chair for me. Because when I engage with the chair, we either find a way of coexisting or we don't. It is relational. There is no fixed essence in the chair and no fixed essence in us. So it's important not to imagine there is a real truth, a definite knowledge that I can get and then I'll understand everything. It's not like that. What we have is revelation. Moment by moment in our life, there is the revelation of the patterning of our potential as it manifests niched within the potential of the Dharma Dhatu. So if you're struggling to understand how something is, quite possibly the difficulty of the inquiry comes because of the distortion that arises that there is some truth to get to. Always be tender towards yourself. Don't struggle. Relax and be present with how it is unfolding. So the next question is, when I identify with awareness itself, when I find myself in awareness, and am released a bit from the aspects of my personalities and the specificities of my identity, I myself also seem to become another person in a way, as if this is a different kind of experience. But there is still a certain center or subtle focal point in my heart area. Is this a dualism to go beyond? Yes, it is a dualism. Going beyond, in Dzogchen, we want to integrate experience rather than transcend it. This subtle focal point in your heart, this is the emergence of presence. And presence is not just something vague, because I am present. But the presence is not a quality of I, me, myself. It's not my presence. The opening of presence of the ground reveals, here I am. Here I am is emergent. I'm sitting looking at my laptop in front of me. I'm talking to a piece of plastic. And yet somehow I'm emerging in many different words and expressions and tone of voice. I'm not something hidden inside me. So if we take a step to the side and we remember the three kayas, the three kayas or the three bodies or the three modes of integrated presence. There is the natural state of the mind or the Dharmakaya, which is just awake, present, available. It's not spaced out. It's not a lostness. It's space's presence as space. It has no content, but it has illumination. So this quality of illumination, sometimes called rigpa or awareness, is like the first light of dawn after a dark night. When you have awareness of the dark night, you have a non-differentiation. Now, as the dawning progresses and the sun moves higher into the sky, the light becomes stronger and there is more differentiation of what is experienced. It's not that there is something there, but there is, if you like, the object side pulsation, which the subject side pulsation interacts with. So today I was climbing the stairs into my flat, and it seemed a very long way. So I stopped halfway up the stairs, and then after a little rest, I continued. 20 years ago, I would just have gone straight up the stairs. That is to say, 20 years ago, how I was and how the stairs were for me was very different. So the stairs manifest their face or their aspect of demand to the James who is tired. When I was feeling very healthy, the stairs never showed me that face. It's like if you fall in love with someone and everything seems marvelous, and then after a while you have your first big argument. And it's as if you have a revelation of, oh God, who is this person? So another aspect of themselves is revealed. So this is occurring all the time. No fixed subject, no fixed objects, but potentials which manifest according to complex factors of interaction. So what is this focal point in the heart? In its most subtle form, it's an aspect of the Sambhogakaya, which is the breath or the tingling life quality of the Dharmakaya. And when that potential becomes concrete in the formation of this particular situation, then you have the Nirmanakaya. And it's concrete for a while, for a short while. It is undeniable that that shape is how it is. But the truth that this is how it is not self-existing because it's in time. This is how it is now. It is actually this, and it's vanishing. It has no real essence, and yet it has truth and impact. So when we do the meditations of dissolving and relaxing, it's, yeah, on you go. It's not that you arrive at a state of nothing at all, except perhaps for 2 or 3 seconds. But life keeps flowing. So when you feel this quality of the heart, this is the site of your participation. This is the balance point, the cusp from which you can tilt out into the world or into just sitting. The key thing is not to misidentify it as proof that I truly exist. So, for example, it's wintertime, but I'm just wearing my shirt because the heating is quite strong. I'm hot. But if I go for 1 minute onto the street, I'll be cold. I'm hot. It is true. And then I'm cold. There is no inherent existence to the hot or the cold. They are situational. They are dependent. They are not intrinsic. So when we relax and we're open and it's spacious, we are present with the spaciousness. I'm here, but it's a very bright and thin form of being here. What I might have been thinking about in the day or some plans of things to do tomorrow, I relax away from that, and there's space in me, but that me is also not a thing. So this is quite subtle. What I would recommend is always go back to the Heart Sutra. Form is not other than emptiness. Emptiness is not other than form. The form was never something in itself. It has never been an entity, a thing, an item. So whatever is occurring is exactly itself without a stabilizing inner self. We are right on the very edge of what language can do or take us towards. So always again, be kind to yourself. Don't push, don't struggle. Just be present and see how it is. In a sense, our practice is the practice of non-activity, neither adding nor subtracting from what is here, from how it is. However it is, that's how it is in this moment. So now the next question, the person writes, I have understood that the cleansing effect of Guru Yoga ceases in the moment which we put mind into thinking voluntarily. Then next sentence is, I find it hard to distinguish which thoughts are spontaneous and which ones are voluntary. How can I distinguish them? It might be helpful to have a few more categories for thinking about these thoughts. When a thought arises in our mind and it just comes, it seems to be spontaneous, but it may well be part of a habitual patterning of how you think about things, how you interpret the events of your life. To think in a voluntary, intentional way is probably quite rare for most of us. That is to say, maybe at work you have to write a report and there's information and you have notes and trying to bring this together into a clear composition, then we get a sense, I am the one doing the thinking. And so this is thinking as linking, as stitching together different events, ideas, thoughts, and bringing them together. That's what thought does. It links. So to tilt the question slightly, when we are sitting, thoughts, feelings, memories, sensations arise and vanish. They're not the product of our intention. They seem to come by themselves. And the text described them as self-arising and self-vanishing. So a key part of our practice is that we relax in the out-breath, and then we stay with this open field of experience coming and going, and we don't interfere in any way. But then you get up from the meditation and you have things to do. So then you come into the shape of the factors of your world of experience. And in that mode, you are thinking about something. You think, oh, I wonder if I can get to the shops before they close. So I have a sense of how long the journey will take. And I have to decide, do I really want to mobilize my energy to get there in time? So I'm thinking, about what they might have in the shops that I would like to eat and what I have in the fridge. So there I'm thinking about something. The some things I'm thinking about are concepts. They're the idea of the food. They're not the actual food. I have if you like, the raw or the fresh experience coming through the senses. And then I have my commentary on top of that. And my decision about whether I go to the shops or not is really a decision about me. Will I go or not? So I'm thinking about the object, what food they'll have in the shop, but I'm also thinking about me and my energy and my hunger and my diet. And the more I fill the concept or the idea of what I could do or what I could get, the more I fill that with associations, the more solid it appears. So even when I think about something, can my thought touch the object? Oh, here's a pen in my hand. I see it, I feel the weight of it, I'm familiar with this kind of pen. Yet the pen is a potential. It's not a fixed item. It could be used for different purposes. When I was at school, we would take the barrel of the pen out, and then we would blow little bits of rice at other people in the classroom. This was very enjoyable. So the pen had many different potentials. The limit of the potential of the object is the limit of the potential of the subject. Yet, no matter how hard we think about the object, it doesn't establish the truth of the object. So we see the Buddha said very clearly, friends become enemies, enemies become friends. So before America was supporting Ukraine against Russia, and now Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin are starting to have some sweet chats together. And so the status of Ukraine is put into question. This is what happens always, always, always. We have a belief. The belief provides interpretation. We take the interpretation as truth, and then the situation changes. So, even if a thought seems to come from me or seems to come out of the mind, actually, these are both movements of the mind. So I would suggest don't make a strong boundary between sitting to do the practice and everyday life. As far as you can, relax in the breath, observe the flow of experience, some of which seems outside, some of which seems inside. I am like a little stream within the big river. The big river is flowing, and this little stream within it is also flowing. I am movement. When we observe the actuality of our existence, it is movement. But if I don't stay present with the actuality of how it is, and instead grasp onto a defining concept, I exist, I am myself, then we are disconnected with the immediacy of life. So as with this question, is it like this or is it like that? If I'm doing this, then this happens, and if I do that, that happens. When you examine your experience through these concepts, it's intrinsic clarity is difficult to find. Just as if you were swimming in the sea, collaborate with the flow. You are part of the flow. Whatever we analyze, that object of analysis is always artificial. So don't go down the path of analysis, just relax and be part of the whole. And it will get easier. So now we come to the end of our time together for this evening. Very nice to be with you. And we have some more events which will be available in the coming months. So stay with your practice. We know that we have good days and bad days. So the encouragement is always, when you have a good day and life is easy, don't get too happy. And when you get a bad day and life is very hard and you feel sad and lonely and depressed, don't cry too much. This is just another pattern of impermanence. It will be there for a while, and then something else will happen. So if the subject gets trapped by the object, you are the one with the hands. I can pick up the pen can't pick me up. The locus of control is in me. So don't abandon the energy flow which you are, which is the energy flow of the ground. So I wish you well, and perhaps we meet again. Bye for now. Bye.
Bye, James.
Bye,
Thank
James.
you.
Bye,
Bye,
James.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye,
Bye,
Thank you.
Thanks
Bye.
so much.
bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank
Bye.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Translators,
Thank you.
everyone.
Love.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.
Sangha.
Bye.
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 Bye.